Hi friends, today we have come to the first chapter of the book Autobiography of Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda. The title of the chapter is My Parents and Early Life. The narrator talks about how Indian culture had always valued deep spiritual truths and the relationship between a teacher and a student. He shares that his own journey led him to a wise and saintly teacher whose life was full of wisdom and guidance. He recalls having early memories that felt like they were from a past life where he was a yogi living in the Himalayas. These memories gave him a sense of both the past and the future. As a baby, he remembers feeling frustrated because he couldn't walk or express himself. He wanted to move and speak freely but couldn't. Despite this, he had strong emotions and thoughts which he later learned to express in different languages. Over time, he got used to hearing and understanding Bengali, his native language. He also reflects on how, as a child, adults often think that infants only focus on simple things like toys and games, but he experienced deep thoughts and emotions. His inability to move and speak made him cry a lot, which confused his family. However, he also remembers happy moments like his mother's gentle care and his first attempts at speaking and walking. The narrator talks about how some yogis can remember their past lives without being affected by birth and death. He believes that if humans were only physical bodies, death would mean the end of identity. However, if ancient prophets were right, humans are actually spiritual beings and their true self exists beyond the senses. The narrator says that having early childhood memories is not uncommon. During his travels, he met many honest people who also remembered events from their infancy. He was born in the late 19th century and spent the first 8 years of his life in Gorakhpur, a city in northeastern India. His full name was Mukunda Lal Ghosh, and he was the second son and the fourth child in a family of 8 siblings. That is 4 boys and 4 girls. His parents were Bengalis from the Kshatriya caste. They had a deep but quiet love for each other and created a peaceful home for their children. His father, Bhagavati Charan Ghosh, was kind, serious, and sometimes strict. Though the children loved him, they also respected him from a distance. He was highly intelligent and logical, always guided by reason. His mother, on the other hand, was full of love and taught her children with kindness. After she passed away, the narrator noticed that his father became more tender and at times his expression reminded him of his mother. The narrator talks about how, when they were young, their mother taught them about discipline using stories from the Mahabharata and Ramayana. Their mother always made sure they showed respect to their father by dressing up carefully for when he came home from work. The father worked for a big company and traveled a lot, so they lived in different cities during the narrator's childhood. Their mother was very kind and helped those in need, often spending more money than their father's monthly income to feed the poor. This sometimes caused some tension between them. Once, after a disagreement, their mother decided to leave and go to her mother's house, but it was resolved quickly with the help of the narrator's maternal uncle. Despite the occasional disagreement, the family was very close and the mother was always kind hearted, especially when she wanted to help someone in need. In this part, the narrator talks about a conversation between the parents over giving money to a woman in need. The father is initially hesitant and questions why the mother wants to give 10 rupees when one might be enough. He shares a personal story of how, when he was young, he experienced poverty and even had to ask for a small amount of money. He remembers how painful it was when someone refused to help him. The mother, however, uses her logic to convince him, asking if he wants the woman to remember his refusal as he did with his past experience. The father, realizing the situation, agrees and gives the 10 rupees, saying it's with his goodwill. The narrator then describes the father's personality. He was careful and cautious, often saying no first to the new ideas. However, he was reasonable, and if given good reasons, he would change his mind. The father was strict with his children, but lived simply, avoiding luxuries like the theatre and expensive items. Instead, he focused on spiritual practices and lived a modest life, even refusing to take any benefits from a bank he helped organize. After father retired, an accountant from the Bengal Nagpur Railway Company found out that father had never asked for bonuses he was owed. The accountant was amazed and told the company that father was owed a large amount of money. The company gave father a check for the bonus, but he didn't think much of it and didn't even mention it to the family. Later, when his youngest son noticed the large deposit, he asked about it. Father explained that material wealth wasn't important to him and that a person comes into this world with nothing and leaves with nothing. In their early married life, father and mother became followers of a spiritual teacher, Lahiri Mahashaya. This strengthened father's simple and ascetic lifestyle. Mother told her eldest daughter that they only lived as a married couple to have children once a year. Father met Lahiri Mahashaya through an employee named Avinash Babu. Avinash would tell the narrator fascinating stories about Indian saints, always praising his own guru, Lahiri Mahashaya, as the greatest. One day, Avinash told the narrator about how his father became a disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. Years before the narrator was born, Avinash asked father for a week off from work to visit his spiritual teacher in Benares. Father laughed at the idea and told Avinash to focus on his work. Feeling disappointed, Avinash was walking home when he unexpectedly met father, who had left his palanquin and walked alongside him. Father tried to cheer him up by talking about the importance of worldly success, but Avinash was thinking about his spiritual teacher, Lahiri Mahashaya. As they walked, they reached a peaceful field, and to Avinash's amazement, Lahiri Mahashaya appeared right in front of them. One day, Avinash told the narrator about how father became a disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. After Avinash was denied leave to visit his guru, he met father in a field where Lahiri Mahashaya appeared out of nowhere and spoke to him. Father was amazed and decided to visit Lahiri Mahashaya in Benares with his wife, and they were guided by Abhinash. When they met Lahiri Mahashaya, he welcomed them and even said the same words he had spoken earlier in the field. Lahiri Mahashaya then initiated father and mother into a spiritual practice called Kriya Yoga. Father and Abhinash became close friends, and Lahiri Mahashaya even took an interest in the narrator's birth, saying that his blessings would always be with them. Lahiri Mahashaya passed away shortly before the narrator was born, but his picture was always kept in the family's home. The narrator and his mother would meditate before it, honoring him with flowers and prayers. As the narrator grew, he felt a strong connection to Lahiri Mahashaya and would often see his image come to life during meditation. When the narrator was around 8 years old, he became very sick with cholera. Doctors had given up hope, and his mother told him to mentally pray to Lahiri Mahashaya's picture. She believed that if he truly showed devotion, he would be saved. The narrator followed her advice, and this experience deepened his love and faith in the Master. The narrator describes a miraculous healing experience when he was very sick with cholera. After his mother asked him to mentally pray to Lahiri Mahashaya's picture, a bright light appeared and the narrator felt better instantly. He was able to show gratitude to his mother by touching her feet. She also felt the same healing light and thanked Lahiri Mahashaya for saving her son. The narrator shares that one of his most valued possessions is the photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya, which was given to his father by the Master himself. The photograph had a special spiritual energy. The story behind the picture is that Lahiri Mahashaya didn't like being photographed, but when a group photo was taken with him, his image mysteriously didn't appear on the photograph, even though the rest of the disciples were visible. The strange event was widely talked about. Gangadhar Babu, a skilled photographer, wanted to capture an image of Lahiri Mahashaya, but despite trying multiple times, the Master's figure was always absent from the photos. Afterward, Gangadhar Babu went to Lahiri Mahashaya feeling defeated. The Master explained that he was spirit and a camera couldn't capture the invisible. Still, Gangadhar Babu asked for a picture of his physical form. The next day, Lahiri Mahashaya agreed to pose, and this time the photograph was successful. The photograph, which is included in the book, shows Lahiri Mahashaya's universal feature and a slight smile indicating his deep connection with God. His eyes are half open, indicating he was aware of the world but was more focused on spiritual matters. Soon after this, the narrator had a powerful spiritual vision while sitting on his bed one morning. One day, the narrator had a powerful thought. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? This thought led to a vision. A brilliant light appeared in his mind, showing images of Himalayan yogis meditating in mountain caves. He asked who they were, and they answered, "We are the Himalayan yogis." He expressed a desire to go to the Himalayas to become like them, but the vision faded. However, the light expanded into infinity. The narrator then heard a voice say, "I am Ishvara, I am light." The voice was gentle like murmuring clouds, and the narrator expressed a deep desire to unite with the divine presence. After the vision, he felt a lasting inspiration to seek God, remembering that He is eternal, ever new joy. Another memory of the narrator recalls is when he and his sister Uma were sitting under a neem tree. Uma had a boil on her leg, and while helping her, the narrator accidentally smeared some ointment on his forearm. The narrator tells a story from his childhood when he and his sister Uma were sitting under a tree. Uma had a boil on her leg, and the narrator jokingly said he would get a boil on his arm the next day as a way of testing the ointment. When Uma laughed at him, the narrator, using his willpower, insisted that both his boil and hers would become bigger the next day. The next morning, the narrator had a boil in the exact spot he had pointed out, and Uma's boil had indeed doubled in size. Uma ran to their mother, terrified, calling him a necromancer. Their mother told the narrator never to use the power of words to harm others. The narrator's boil was treated by a doctor, leaving a scar on his arm, which remained as a reminder of the power of words. He later realized that words can have powerful effects, and if used wisely, they can help overcome challenges in life without causing harm. The narrator's family moved to Lahore, where he had a picture of the goddess Kali, which he believed had the power to fulfill his prayers. One day, while on the balcony with his sister Uma, they saw two kites flying nearby. The narrator quietly prayed for the kites to come to him. Uma laughed, not believing anything would happen, but the narrator remained confident. The kite match began across the street, and when one kite string was cut, it started floating towards the narrator's direction. The wind slowed down, causing the string to get caught in a cactus plant, which helped the narrator grab the kite. He gave it to Ma, who was still skeptical, but agreed that if the second kite came to him too, she believes. The narrator prayed harder for the second kite, and once again, when the kite string was pulled, it was flying towards him and got caught in the cactus plant, just like the first one. He gave the second kite to Ma, who was amazed and finally believed that the Divine Mother had listened to the narrator's prayer. Friends, here we come to the end of chapter 1, to be continued by chapter 2 tomorrow. Thank you.